It was on that truly fateful day, February 7th, 1981, that exercises involving all fleets of the Soviet Union came to an end in Leningrad. Naval officers then began to make their way home. The top command of the Pacific Fleet had a flight scheduled to Vladivostok on a 214. At 4 in the afternoon, the staff plane commenced its takeoff run down the runway.
The plane started to lift off the ground, gaining maybe 50 to 70 meters in altitude, not much at all. And at that precise moment, it seemed to just hang there, almost stall completely, tipping slightly to the left. And of course, to the people who witnessed it, it looked eerily like a cross hanging in the air.
The 214's final tragic flight lasted a mere 8 seconds before the plane crashed violently to the ground. Because the fuel tanks were completely full, the aircraft immediately burst into a massive inferno. 43 passengers, including the esteemed Pacific Fleet Commander Admiral Emil Spiridonov, and 6 crew members tragically died instantly in the crash. Racings. Zubarev sadly passed away on the way to the hospital.
Indeed, naval history has truly never witnessed such a profound tragedy. It tragically claimed the lives of 13 admirals, along with 3 esteemed generals and numerous high-ranking senior officers. Many of these individuals were highly regarded and were in line for even more prominent admiral positions, a devastating loss for the Navy.
The details of the crash were immediately classified. The only paper to report on the tragedy was Red Star. On February 10th, they ran a small obituary on page 3. Immediately after the 2104 crash, investigators began working on possible causes. There were 3 main theories.
Sabotage, for one.
The Cold War is raging and the arms race is on. One of the Soviet Union's most capable fleets is completely decapitated. Could it be sabotage? The Pacific Fleet was immediately put on high alert in case of a NATO invasion, but no attack occurred and the terrorist theory fell apart.
Military airfields were heavily guarded facilities, making it virtually impossible for unauthorized personnel to gain entry. Access was strictly limited to maintenance crews and thoroughly vetted specialists who had the necessary clearances. Military intelligence maintained constant vigilance, closely monitoring all activities and personnel to ensure the highest levels of security and prevent any potential breaches.
Version 2. Crew error.
Or was it simply pilot error? Well, that theory was quickly dismissed almost immediately after analyzing the black box data, which was quite extensive. The flight recorders clearly showed that the pilot didn't even touch the controls at the critical moment when the plane initially took off. Instead, and this is quite strange, the plane inexplicably took off completely on its own at a reduced speed, immediately lost lift, and then stalled violently.
Yes, the crew was exceptionally well trained and highly experienced. The captain, in particular, had logged over 5,000 hours, specifically on the Tu-104, which was a significant portion of his 8,000 total flight hours. That level of experience is generally considered excellent preparation, especially for something like naval or Air Force aviation, where precision and skill are paramount.
Version 3. Overload.
The official cause, as they stated, was aircraft overload. With shortages plaguing every corner of life, they couldn't resist the chance to move valuables out of Leningrad while they still could. They crammed the Admiral's Tu-104 completely full. Furniture sets, brand new TVs, and even rolls of printing paper, each weighing half a ton, were packed in.
It's possible they shifted, as we say, rolled back into the tail section. That significantly changed the balance.
This wasn't the first time a 2104 was overloaded. Lieutenant Colonel Anatoly Ilyushin, the pilot, repeatedly brought this to the fleet's political department's attention. Unfortunately, command never responded to his complaints or concerns.
Aftermath of the crash.
Aftermath of the crash. Following that terrible disaster, all 104 aircraft were immediately decommissioned from the armed forces, and civilian airlines had already stopped using them a couple of years before the Pushkin tragedy, primarily due to their unacceptably high accident rates.
Tupolev, well, he never really admitted that the plane's design had any shortcomings, to put it very mildly. In fact, he was quite stubborn about it. For example, over 200 civilian Tu-104s were produced during its run, which sounds like a lot, but a staggering 18% of them crashed during their service. That's an incredibly high number of casualties. We're talking about 1,140 people who lost their lives. It's a tragic legacy, really.
After the Pushkin tragedy, the Soviet Army and Navy quickly made new rules to prevent similar disasters. Senior officers couldn't fly on the same flight. Commanders had to travel separately from their chiefs of staff. And like commercial airlines, they weighed all carry-ons and luggage before boarding.